Hello and welcome to another video. In fact, another video series, because behind me we have a Nissan GU Patrol. And as much as it seems simple to just go and buy a car, nothing's simple with us. And we went on a little bit of an adventure across the eastern seaboard of Australia.
Yep.
And nothing turned out quite like we thought it would. So we thought we'd fill you in. Basically, we left Canberra with the idea of buying a Patrol. How about you tell us about the Patrol we left to buy?
Well, so we'd seen it on Gumtree, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was on Gumtree.
Yep. So Y61 Patrol, looked like it had a few little goodies on it, but the big selling point was it had a 5.3 litre cast iron Chev in it. Which
LS Chev.
LS space Chev.
Yep.
So it would have been an ideal tow vehicle, had a manual.
Yep. And as well, actually maybe not everyone knows, the 5.3 litre cast iron LS is known to actually enjoy boost.
And substantial amounts.
Yeah, like
so,
800-900 horsepower amounts.
And the reason it was looked at is because Damien's idea was to have something that could tow, which was the main thing.
Main reason.
But also something you could have a little bit of fun in when you needed to. And so that's why the idea of a four-wheel drive, because it's practical, you know, you can still go camping and whatnot, but have something that you could scare a few people in while you were doing it.
And
so
I think another key ingredient to that was being able to play with it on the dyno.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that's what we do. So the ability to modify, tune, test, brake, that unfortunate cycle of modifying cars,
absolutely,
was critical to that. So essentially I rang the guy up. He wasn't asking, well, I don't think he was asking a lot of money. From off the top of my head, I think he was asking
17, I think it was.
No, that's what I agreed to pay. I think it was 19,000 he had it up for. And you know, it had, I mean, obviously it had the LS conversion, it had almost brand new 33-inch mud tyres, new wheels, drawers, roof rack, ARB rooftop tent, 3-inch suspension lift, ARB bull bar, winch, brush bars, side steps. Like it had a few goodies on it. And I thought, oh well, it's worth a phone call. Rang him, quite a nice guy. He basically pointed a few little issues out with the vehicle, nothing major. Just trying to think of one. Oh, the winch hadn't been fitted, so the winch came with the vehicle, but it hasn't been fitted, and it was missing the winch rope. I thought, well, it's pretty minor. Stuff like that, like just little things here and there. And he did mention it had a very minor oil leak. We'll come to that in a minute. So anyway, I thought, you know, bargain. I made him an offer. We settled on 17 grand, including the rooftop tent and everything. I said, no worries, the next weekend. He's in Rockhampton, so I think it's 7 hours drive above Brisbane. So I said, no worries, we'll fly up. I obviously invited Kyle, because I don't really want to do the death drive on the way back by myself. And up we went. So it was last Saturday. We left Canberra at 6:20 a.m. Flew up to Brisbane, then over to Rockhampton, got there by 11, and that, to be honest, is where everything started turning to shit. So he was meant to meet us at 11 at the airport. He was meant to pick us up in the car. Got to the airport, rang him. Oh yeah, no worries, I'm an hour and 45 minutes away. We're like, yeah, good, okay, excellent.
Off to a flying start.
Yeah,
that's
so
usual.
Yeah, that's it. So we hopped in a taxi. Nice gentleman showed us the sights of Rockhampton on the way to the Rockhampton Mall, Stockton or whatever it is.
Yeah,
I think it's a Stockton.
Like that.
Anyway, went there. You know, I think we had a bite to eat, got a drink, had a look around, whatever. Eventually, he arrived. We met him out the front, and we walked. So kind of hard to imagine, but he parked it kind of in like a freight
loading zone,
zone, freight delivery area. So we went around the corner and saw it. There it was. And to be honest, externally it looked pretty clean.
Yeah, body was in pretty good condition.
Body, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, nice and straight too. A couple of little dings here and there, but
as you'd expect.
It's a four-wheel drive, so
that's it. So we thought, oh, this is pretty good. And that's pretty much where the praise for the vehicle stopped, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Obviously he gave me the keys, and then we started going through it. Actually, you know what? I opened the driver's door. It all looked relatively clean, standard GU type stuff. Yeah, sure, there's a bit of mud through it or whatever, but it was minor stuff. It wasn't really until we popped the bonnet and or had a look underneath it where things didn't go too well. I think the pivot point for me was Kyle hopped under the car first, under the front. I'd walked around the back, I'd opened the rear doors and had a bit of a look. And then I got under to have a look where sort of where the rear diff is. And I just saw Kyle looking at me with a kind of distressing look on his face. And then I looked up and I was like, oh, yeah, good. Okay. I think, you know what, I think Kyle's more qualified to tell you about what we saw under the car than I am.
Yeah, so basically, because it is a four-wheel drive, and especially in that area of Australia, obviously you've got places like Fraser Island and stuff like that around there, so you do expect the vehicles to be used, and unfortunately when you're doing a lot of driving in salt water, things tend to rust pretty badly. So I just kind of jumped under to have a look, because sometimes they are known for having, you know, a bit of rust problems in the bodies and stuff like that, so I jumped under to have a look, and the thing was pretty much rusty from front to back.
Yep, and
but
yeah,
it also smelt like warm paint, which is, you know, a bit. I'm sure most people have probably smelt it when you've sprayed paint on something that gets hot and it burns off a little bit. So it smelt like that. So anyway, I think what they'd done is, in order to cover up the rust, they just sprayed everything with paint, and yeah, so that kind of hid a lot of it. But they hadn't knocked it back with sandpaper or Scotch-Brite or anything. They had literally painted over the dirt that was sitting on it.
Literally over the mud, over the dirt, over the rust, over everything.
And it was billed as being, you know, like a relatively clean vehicle that had been used. And yeah, when I jumped under it and everything was rusty, straight away you start to go, well, is it worth it? And I think that's pretty much the conversation we had.
Yeah, and it only got worse. I mean, okay, just forget the fact the whole bottom of the car was rusty. The next problem was, so the car had another one of the selling points, big selling points.
Yep.
The car had a Haltech ECU. I mean, obviously I'm a Haltech dealer, so that was a bonus. Yep. And I thought that's just something I don't have to buy. I mean,
so it was billed as being a platinum
Haltech
ECU.
Platinum, either Pro or Sports
Sport
or
2000
whatever.
or something.
Whatever, any of the above is probably okay. All I remember is we couldn't actually see the ECU, so I went, well, it's probably behind the glove box and or behind the kick paddle.
Yep.
So I grabbed the lever for the glove box, I just pulled it slightly and the whole glove box fell out. Yeah, good. Okay, so it's missing the pins, not the end of the world. I couldn't actually see the ECU though. And just remember, I'm looking for, if anyone hasn't seen a Haltech Platinum series, it's a silver boxed ECU and it's about yay big. I had a very quick look and went, oh, it's not there. And then Kyle from the other side, he's leaning over the driver's side, goes, is that a serial cable? And I grabbed it, I was like, yes it is. So again, serial, except for Adaptronic as far as I can tell,
yep.
Serial cables aren't really used anymore. Serial interfaces are, but most of the time through USB or Universal Serial Bus. So we're like, oh no. So I stuck my head up and had a really good look. And lo and behold, there's a big red alloy container, which is a Haltech. It's a Haltech E6X, which is old, and I won't say anymore, it's just old.
Yep.
But what it meant was no direct fire ignition,
No.
and no sequential injection. So basically that ECU thought that V8 was a 4-cylinder. And again, look, you can wire it up so it fires 2-cylinder injectors and 2 cylinders worth of spark at the same time. Normally you do one on your power stroke and one on your exhaust stroke, so it doesn't really have any effect. But honestly, it just turned to shit. And then everything was just untidy. Yeah. It's just no good.
And when we jumped under it to have a look, I think it had been sitting there maybe 5 minutes at a stretch.
Yeah.
There was already a big pool of oil under it, and it was dripping off the sway bar, it was dripping off the sump. Basically, front to back was covered in oil too. So I think we looked at it and went, do we want to drive this thing 1,700 kilometres to get home?
No.
No. The exhaust was also dumped at the diff, and I think that would have been a pretty rubbish drive.
Oh, my head would have been just in severe pain. But the best bit was they didn't even dump it. It was literally just dumped.
It was just chopped.
So it was just facing the rear diff and brake lines and all that sort of stuff. So realistically, me and Kyle had a bit of a chat behind the car, and the amount of money I would have been willing to pay for that car versus the asking price, I wasn't even going to make the gentleman that offer because he did seem like a relatively nice guy.
He did.
And I didn't want to offend him. But let's put it this way, it certainly was going to have single figures in front of the 3 zeros, let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
So what that meant though was we're now at Stockton in Rockhampton with no way of getting home.
No, it did leave us in a little bit of a predicament. But it was also an easier predicament to solve than had we have broken down, 800 k's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
because
fair.
let's face it, what did we have? I had a sleeping bag, I had a t-shirt, we bought some pillows in Kmart.
Those pillows turned out to be the bane of our existence, which we'll get to in a minute.
But aside from that, we had, not much. So absolutely nothing in the way of tools. So we kind of thought about it and went, no, there's no way. No way at all.
No hope. So we sat in Gelatissimo at Rockhampton on Gumtree, eBay, Facebook, car sales, looking for another vehicle. And believe me, we were considering some oddballs. So there was a Corvette C4, a right-hand drive C4 automatic around the corner from where we were. We thought, how good would that be? Until we realised it was an automatic, old Corvette with rust.
Yeah, and not capable of towing anything, which was
so it's
a
kind
big
of
consideration.
Didn't fit the bill. What else did we find? We found a whole bunch of stuff. We found a TB48 Auto Patrol, I think.
Yep, that TI one.
Yep, so it was green and 5-speed auto, really clean car, rang the guy, and unfortunately it had already, that's right, it already had a deposit on it.
It did.
But worse than that, I kind of used my sales skills and convinced him that he should sell it to us and not the person who was actually going to be buying it. But then him and his missus read through the lease paperwork that they'd already signed. And
so
basically,
it was going to be a finance vehicle.
Yeah, finance vehicle.
Finance.
And basically they were going to get sued. So that fell through. We found a nice Silverado in Brisbane. Actually, we found quite a few nice cars in Brisbane that were for sale. So long story short, we decided to hop on another plane from Rockhampton back to Brisbane that night. We couldn't get on there until 5:15.
Which is good, because we hadn't kind of decided that was what we were going to do until probably
3 o'clock.
2:30, 3 o'clock.
Yeah. So we did that, flew back. Pillows. We said that pillows were a problem. So the pillows that we bought a 2-pack. Because we thought, 2 for $20, why not? And basically what had happened was, as you can imagine, you're carrying a big thing of pillows around. We didn't expect to be getting back on planes and walking through shopping malls. So here we are on essentially a Dash 8, so one of those tiny little aeroplanes, with a rugby team, mind you, with this stupid big pack of pillows that we had to try and put somewhere. We got a few interesting looks, that was good. And that's right, we thought, it's only an hour and 15 flight. We'll leave our headphones in our bags, which are now jammed in with our pillows in the overhead lockers. And then the people sat in front of us were 2 parents and 3 young children who were all crying. We just looked at each other like, is it too late to get out of our seats and go and get those headphones?
Fortunately, they weren't too bad though.
They were pretty
really good.
One of them was playing a really cool monster truck game on their iPad. So, got to Brisbane, and look, as we said, we found probably 5 odd vehicles that we wanted to look at, and we'd already been talking to. Me and Cole have a bit of a fetish for Silverados, I'll be honest.
So not just Silverados, but
any American trucks. So that's just my phone ringing. Ignore that. So we'd been talking to this gentleman about this Silverado. And we'd lined that up to talk to him, I think at 8 o'clock or 8:30 or something.
So pretty much when we landed back in Brisbane, I think we were going to kind of sort out what we were doing and give him a ring. So the Silverado was 2-wheel drive.
Rear-wheel drive.
It was a teal colour.
Teal, it had been repainted, had like some air stripes down the side. Shaved, hidden tow bar.
It was a really nice looking vehicle. It was a 350.
350 Chev, original matching numbers.
Matching numbers, turbo
700?
Turbo 700 gearbox, so it's effectively
4-speed.
A very
3-speed
crude 3-speed and overdrive transmission. It was very early model injection.
That's not good.
Which, a beautiful car, but was it something that, 1, was going to be super useful, and 2, was it going to get us home, was the other thing. Because if you break down in most things, you're probably going to get parts at a Repco. If you're in a Silverado, you're probably not going to have a great time.
Look, it was riding very low as well. It had lowered springs,
it had
22-inch wheels, I think. It was just going to be average. And no doubt, obviously never heard it, but it was probably quite loud. kind of the oddball, and we looked at it a few times and never bothered talking to the guy. The only reason we then rang him was because it was only 5 minutes from Brisbane, or 10 minutes, sorry, from Brisbane Airport. There was a white TB48 manual Patrol for sale. 300,000 K, or just under 297,000 Ks, I think. It just looked really clean.
Yeah, so it looked really clean, and like we kind of glossed past it a couple of times because we looked at what had been done to it. I don't think he listed any problems really, or maybe like one or two minor things. And I think we just kept looking past it because it was really cheap for what it was. Most other cars in that kind of, I suppose, spec were in like the low, or kind of high teens, low 20s. And this one was it 13? Yeah. So we kind of looked past it because as soon as Damien said, what do you think of this? So I said, oh, it's too cheap, there must be something severely wrong with it. But we couldn't find anything, so we did end up ringing the bloke, and he was a couple of minutes away from the airport, so we decided we'd go and have a look. You know, worst case is we just had to go and look at something else again. So
yeah, so in an Uber we hopped.
Yep.
And we went and had a look at it. And I think that's where we're going to leave this conversation.
Yeah.
Because we do have a little bit of video from the GoPro. I do have to warn you guys, we hadn't slept for a long time.
Yeah.
So if we talk a little bit of gibberish, I apologise in advance. But we're going to take you through picking up the car and driving home. Any problems we encounter.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll give you a bit of a rundown of the car. Right, welcome. You join us at the lovely Brisbane Airport out the front in a bus stop. And basically what's occurred is we've just flown back from Rockhampton. You know, obviously we just wanted to stop in Rockhampton, you know, take in the sights. We didn't want to buy a car or anything. So what we're doing now is we've conveniently organised to meet Ash, I believe his name is, lovely guy, with a backup plan. And apparently his house is about 10 minutes from here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get an Uber or cab or something. We're going to go and see Ash and hope that the vehicle he has is suitable.
Or even as described.
Or even as described. We'll get into why we didn't buy the other one soon. But let's just say it definitely didn't have... What didn't it have?
Anything good.
Well, actually, technically it had everything that he said. It was just all junk. Hello! So, we are in our abnormally good TB48 GU Patrol. And, I mean, touch wood here, because I should never say this, but this thing's incredible. It's got 300,000 Ks on the clock and it drives like a new car.
Yeah.
Perfectly cranky. I know that's a cliche and everyone says that, but no joke, this gearbox you can change with one finger. There's not a hint of a clunk, a rattle, the synchros are all in good condition, there's no crunches, the engine is smooth, there's no, the only noise coming from this interior is the four wheels and tyres that we have in the back. I'm sitting on cruise control doing 100 Ks an hour. It's just, it's too good, especially when you consider how much we paid for the thing. Yeah, so I'd like to say I'm thoroughly impressed so far.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it's head and shoulders above anything else that we definitely went and looked at. We want to go along the Pacific Highway. Okay.
What we have coming up here in the right-hand lane, we're not going to be able to get close enough, but you can probably see there's two red Mustangs with black stripes. One's a Mustang GT V8, the other one's an EcoBoost convertible, and they're a husband and wife team. Ah, how cute. So we're at Pheasant's Nest, and we have these two old ladies who will not move. They're finally in their car. They've been having coffees and food right in front of the auto gas dispenser, the only one here. Move! But even funnier is look at this guy trying to get out of the pump with his big caravan. It's quite entertaining. Every time he moves, he's making it worse for himself. Oh, look, here we go.
Hallelujah.
Who would have thought? Good old Kaz 270, eh? Goodbye, Kaz. We've been back a total of what? 3.5, 4 hours?
Yep.
And we thought, yes, what we'll do is we'll tackle a job already. And that job... Wait, we put some more oil in it.
Yep, we did.
We put oil in it because we... Look, I'll be honest, we never checked.
Nah.
We checked a lot of really weird things, but we didn't check the oil. And it was okay, it was just a bit low. But anyway, look, we're putting some Titan drawers in it. I've had these since I had my last GU Patrol. But I never got around to putting them in because the other one was junk. And look, these are great, you know, 4-wheel drive Super Santa sell them, you know, they just bolt in, yada, yada, yada. So the idea is you bolt them into the old mounts for the retaining hooks, which as you can see, they're sort of close. Until you come to this side, where, unless I'm mistaken, that mount's over there, and that's the end of the drawers. And then that's the mount over there, and then that's the end of the drawers. So it's basically what I'm about to say is it's not going to bolt in. This is going to be another project, and it sounds like fun.
Always were a dreamer as a child. Every night I watch the stars hoping for a sign. My father said, come down to earth, my son. But in my heart I knew there's something more out there. So follow me, just follow me. Yeah, follow me.